Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and hit the notification button for more educational videos.
So to draft the cup corset, we need the shoulder measurement, the bust measurement, the waist measurement, the bust span measurement, the shoulder to bust measurement, the shoulder to under bust measurement, and then the upper hip measurement. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2. The shoulder measurement I'm working with here is 16. Divide by 2, that's 8. And I'm going to mark the neckline. So the measurement for standard neckline is 3 inches. Depends on the size. If the person is a plus size, you can use 4 inches. So on these points that I marked on the shoulder, I'm going to come down here by 1 inch. This is a basic bodice. Basic bodice is not a corset class. So what I'm doing now is just drafting my basic bodice. So I'm coming down here by 3. That's the depth of the neck. And then I'll connect this. And then from the shoulder, I'll mark my shoulder to bust point measurement. The measurement I'm working with here, the shoulder to bust point is 10. I'll rule a line across that. Make sure the line is straight. Then I'll mark shoulder to under bust measurement. Shoulder to under bust I'm working with here is 14. So from the shoulder, I'll mark 14. And then you also need the shoulder to waist measurement, which is the half length. The half length I'm working with here is 18. So I'll mark that 18 here. I'll roll a line across. So I'll label this. This is the bust point. This is the under bust. And then this is the half length. So the next thing we'll do now is mark the chest line. So to mark the chest line, you divide your armhole measurement into 2, then you minus 3. The armhole measurement I'm working with is 20. Divide by 2, that's 10. Minus 3, that's 7. So now I'm going to connect the shoulder with a straight line. And then on this point here, what I need to do now is shaping the armhole. So I'm going to measure the chest measurement. The chest measurement I'm working with is 14. I'll mark 14 here. So now I'll connect the armhole. So now I need to connect the shoulder to this place and then into the underarm. And then I'll shape in the neck. So now I'm going to mark my bust span measurement divided by 2. The bust span measurement I'm working with is 8. Divide by 2, that's 4. I'll mark 4 on all the lines. I'll roll a straight line. So the next thing I'm going to do now is determine how deep I want. Now this is the center front. Let's assume this is our fabric. So this is the center front, which is on fold. So now I'm going to determine how deep I want the center front of my corset to be. So I want it to be a little bit revealing. So I'm just going to come down by 2 inches. So on this chest line, I came down by 2 inches. It's not compulsory you must do that. Depends on the neckline or how revealing you want the cleavage of your corset to be. So I'm going to come down here by 2 inches. Then on this 2 inch, I'm going to come in by 1 inch. So 1 inch is the maximum you can use. If you don't want the middle to be very wide, you can use half an inch. So the next thing you're going to do after marking, coming in here with 1 inch, is this is like the most easiest route. Just get the cup you're working with, place the cup on your pattern, make sure the beginning of the cup is touching the end of this line here. So you just trace out the down shape, the lower shape of the cup. So what I'm doing now is on this side, I'm not tracing directly on exactly where the cup ends. So I'm going to come out by 1 inch on this side here. So the reason why is because the breast is always fuller on this side, on the armhole side, than on this other side. So I'm going to come out by 1 inch here. So now I'm going to connect this together. But if the measurement, if the pattern you're drafting, if the person has like, if the person is not busty, you can use the exact measurement of the cup. You can trace out like the exact cup shape. So my other reason for always taking this 1 inch is because this cup size are not made in Nigeria. So their sizes are Nigeria bust measurement sizes are always different. So this cup now can be like a size 40, but it's somebody that wears like somebody that's like is a bust measurement size 40. This cup will be like very, very small for the person. So that's why I always like to make my pattern bigger. So now on this side, I'll move my cup to meet this line. And then, so this is what I have after doing that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is, you know, this is where the cup ended, right? This is where we started drafting from. So now, if you want your corset, the upper part of your corset to just be straight, you can maintain this line to this point. But I want it to have like a kind of sweetheart neckline. So I want the middle to be deep and then the side will be high. So what do? I will come up on this line by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect this to this. So the next thing I'll do now is connect this point to meet this point here. So this is what I have after making that connection. So now I'm going to impute my darts. So the darts I'm using 1 inch on this side. So it's standard, always use 1 inch on that side, 1 inch on this side. So I'll come to the half length, I'll measure 1 inch too on both sides. So now I'll connect that together, connect this together. So now on this under bust here, I'm going to come up by 1.5 inch. From here, I'm coming upward by 1.5 inch. This is my 1.5 inch here. So now I'm coming to connect this to this and connect this to this. So now on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take in a dart too, but I'm not using 1 inch. I'm using 3/4 of an inch. 3/4 of an inch is less than 1 inch. I'll mark 3/4 of an inch here, and then on this line too, I'll go up and mark 3/4 of an inch. So now on this line here, I'm going to come in by 1.5 inch. This is the 1.5 inch here. So now I'm going to connect this to this and connect this to this. So the darts I've taken here, I'll do the same thing on this side. And then on this place, I'll come into by 1.5 inch. So now I'll connect this to this and connect this to this. So now, because the corset is not going to stop at the half length measurement, I want the corset to hold the lower part of the tummy too. So I'm going to extend it from the half length with 5 inches. So after making that extension, so now I'm going to take in my measurement. So the waist measurement I'm working with is 30. 30 divided by 4, that's 7.5. So I'm not marking 7.5 straight. I'm not marking 7.5 straight like this because we are cutting this dart out. So this dart is 2 inches that we are cutting out here, right? So meaning for my waist measurement, I'm measuring from here to here, and then I'll start from here and measure here. So now the waist is 7.5. This is 3. Mark my 7.5. So the under bust measurement is the same as the waist measurement for this person. So meaning I'm marking 7.5 at the under bust too. This is 3 here. So now this is 7.5. So the bust measurement is 40. 40. Whatever that I have here, I'm adding it to my 40. So here I have 1.5 inch. So 40 divided by 4, that's 10 plus 1.5, that's 11.5. So I'll mark the same thing here. So now I'm connecting these lines together. And I'm not connecting them together with a straight line. I'm using a slightly curved ruler to connect the lines together. So now on this extension that we made here, I'm going to put the upper hip measurement. So the upper hip measurement of this person is 40. So divide by 4, that's 10. That's 10. And then this dart that is here that we're cutting off, so I'm just going to extend it to the down. So if you watch this down now, you see that I took more dart here than I took here. So I took 1 inch here and I took like ½ inch here. That's because it's the waist we want to shape in. We need more shape in the waist, not in the upper hip. So the measurement I'm taking here, the upper hip measurement is 10. So I'm going to measure. This is 3.5. So this is my 10. So now I'm going to connect this to this. So this is all we need for the front. So now if you're working with a design that have a yoke, when I say have a yoke, I mean maybe like there's a net on top, or there's something else, another fabric on top attached to the lower part of the corset, so you know you are working with this part. But if your design does not have a yoke, if it's just like a breast yoke corset, you know this is where you're working with from here. So if it's that kind of design you're making, you need to extend this down. You know this is where the cup will end, right? So meaning the back is going to be attached to this place. Your design cannot stop here at the front and then the back will come and start here. So this excess that is here, you will not have a place to join it to. So if you're making like a breast tube, where your cup ends, just extend that line to the back. So now you know this is the design you're working with. We're working with if it's like a breast tube, but if it's not, we are not working with this design. So I'm not working with that design. That one is very easy to understand. The design with yoke is kind of the one that is like more complex. So now we're going to draft the back. To draft the back, these lines here is what is going to guide us in drafting the back. So to draft the back, I'm just going to extend these lines. Well, I've extended the line, so I'm just going to draw a straight line across. So to get where that line would be, you can just measure like 15 inches, depending on the measurement you're working with. So, or you can just turn your paper and then start measuring from the edge of the paper here. So now this will be your center back. So now I'm just going to rule a straight line just going to roll a straight line here. I'm making this line my center back. So now we're going to drag the back. So I'm starting my measurement now from this line. So the first thing I'll do is mark my shoulder measurement divided by 2, which is 8. And I'll connect it down with a straight line. Then I'll mark the width of the neck, 3 inches like we used in the front, but for the depth I'm using 1 inch because the back neck is always higher than the front neck. This is just your basic bodice. So now in this place I'm going to come down by 1 inch and then connect this to this point here. So I marked my center back and then I marked the shoulder width 3 inches, which is the same thing we used in the front. So I marked the neck depth. I used 1 inch because the back neck is always higher than the front. So I came down here by 1 inch and connected this to this. So now I'm just going to draw in the armhole curve. So I'm not measuring any chest measurement for the back because the back is always the same measurement as the shoulder measurement. So the next thing I'm going to do now is measure my bust span measurement divided by 2, which is 4. I'll mark 4 on all the lines. I'll make a straight line across the point I marked. So now I'm going to take in the measurement I'm using. The bust I'm using is 10. That's 40 divided by 4. The under bust is 7.5. The waist is the same as the under bust, which is 7.5. So for the upper hip, I used 40. So here I'm measuring 10. So now I'm going to connect these lines together. So you see that on this side, I placed my curve ruler like this. But when I want to rule this hip side, I place it like this. So now I'm going to place in a dart for the back. So the dart I'll be using for the back, on my waistline, I'm marking 1/2 inch on both sides. Mark from here, I'll measure 1/2 inch. Then from here to here, I'll measure 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. I'll do the same thing for the under bust. So now I'm just going to connect this. Connect from here down. Make sure it's touching the 1/2 inch I marked. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So if you cannot do that connection, like mark your 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here. If you find it difficult connecting with a ruler, so what you do is on this end here, you mark your 1/2 inch on both sides. Then you just place your ruler. Make sure it's touching here, and then make sure it's touching your 1/2 inch here. So the next thing we'll do now is, now this is the original measurement. If we don't reduce this measurement now, when the person wears the corset, it's not really going to be snatched because it's exactly the person's measurement. So we need to reduce this measurement. So now to reduce this measurement, I'm minusing 2 inches. Remove 2 inches from the bust. Remove 2 inch here. Remove 2 inch on the under bust. Then on this upper hip here, I'm removing 1.5 inch here because we want this place to look a little bit closed, and then we want more opening here. So now I'm going to connect that down with a straight line. So now we are not working with this. 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 So now I want the back to have like a little opening, and then as many buttons as you want to put there. So I want to put like just 2 buttons there. So my 2 buttons will be like 1.5 inch. So I want the back to have like a little opening. So the shape you make here depends on how you want the opening you're making at the back to look. So the most important thing is, you know, this is the line we are working with now, right? So whatever opening you make here, it needs to come and stop here, because whatever fabric you are using here, you're still attaching it to this place. if you don't make it stop here, by the time you're joining this to this, you'll be confused. You will not know where to start joining from. So if it stops here, you just know that, okay, when you're joining this to this, you're starting the sewing from here. So now, this is the opening I'll have at the back. You know this is on fold, right? So meaning we're cutting 2 pieces of this. So by the time I attached something exactly that looks like this on the other side, you'll see that we have like an O shape opening at the back. So that's all you need to do. So the next thing we'll do now is cut out our pattern. After you've added your sewing allowance, it's not really necessary you add sewing allowance to a corset because it's not something that you make adjustments on. So you could just cut out like this and then just join your back to the front with 1/2 inch, or you can still add 1 inch allowance. So the only reason for adding 1 inch allowance is just to be on the safe side, so that after you've cut it out, you realize that, oh, you did not take your appropriate measurement. You still have an allowance to reshape whatever you've cut out, so you can have the exact measurement you're working with. So now, if the design you're working with is a deep illusion neckline, when you want to cut this out on your fabric, you're not cutting on fold, you're cutting 2 pieces. Why? Because so it will be easy for you to attach the net in the middle. You know, deep illusion neckline, you should know what a deep illusion neckline is. So now, but since this is not a deep illusion neckline, you are working with this line. When you want to cut this on your fabric, make sure these pieces here is on fold. Now, if it was a deep illusion neckline, this is a deep illusion neckline. Now, if it's a deep illusion neckline, meaning this is where we are cutting from. We're cutting from here, like this, to this place. So meaning this whole part here will be net. So when you want to cut something like that on your fabric, after you've cut, you first cut this place out, which is your net. So you cut these pieces, 2 pieces. After you've cut it 2 pieces, you add 1/2 inch allowance that you'll use to join your net. So meaning these pieces here, we have joining in the front. It will be easier for you to join the net like that if you open up the front. If you don't open up the front, sewing in the net will be very, very difficult for you. So when you cut open the front, after you've sewed it back together, you can cover it up with a bony channel. So now, but since this is not what we're working with, oh, okay, this is the most difficult one, let's work with this. But you know that if you were to work with this, you're just cutting from here. So now let's cut this out in form of a deep illusion neckline. So first I'm going to separate the back from the front. So I'm just cutting this pattern out now to show you how the deep illusion neckline will look. But this is not the one I'm sewing. The one I'm sewing have this pattern. The middle here is straight. So first I'm going to cut out the neckline, which is going to be the net. So now you know that this piece here is net. When you're cutting your net, you cut it on fold because you're not joining your net on fold. Then cut your dart to this point here, and then you move slowly in to stop here. Cut this dart to this place here, you stop here. So we're just going to cut out this dart here. We don't need that dart. So now I'm going to cut out my cuff. So now this is the pieces that I said you are cutting 2 pieces. If you want to cut this now, you're not cutting this on fold, you're cutting 2 pieces. So when you cut 2 pieces of this, if you want to join it, the most easy way, if you want to join it, you just place your net on one side like this, you sew it, then you take the other pieces of this, then you sew it to the other side of the net. So after you've done that, before you now join this middle that has an opening. So now we are cutting out our cup. So you're cutting 2 pieces of this too. So now we're going to cut out our dart from the cup. So you see, I did not cut all the way through, because when you cut it all the way through and you want to sew it back, it's very, very confusing to join together. see that this darts that we've cutting out now, by the time we join our cup together, it will make our cup smaller. So now when you want to cut this on your fabric, this is exactly what you're cutting on your fabric. When you want to cut this on your fabric, the fabric you're using to cover the cup, you add 1 inch round or whatever that you have here. What that I have here is 1.5 inch. So if I want to cut this on my fabric now, I'm adding 1.5 inch round. The least you can use is 1 inch. Add it round, and then still trace out my darts. So let me show you. I want to cut this out on my fabric now. This is what I'm cutting. I'll add my 1.5 inch allowance round, or at least 1 inch. I'll make sure I still have this shape. I'll make sure I still have the original shape of the pattern. So now I'm going to connect my darts. So to connect my dart back to this place, I'm going to take in 1/2 inch. Why? Because we are going to join this together. If I don't remove 1/2 inch from here now, by the time we join our darts together, we are still going to make the pattern smaller. So to make sure I have exactly what I've cut out before, so I'm going to come down here by 1/2 inch. So I'll do the same thing here. I'm not marking direct from here because I need an allowance to join it back together. So I'm going to do the same thing here. So now if I want to cut, this is where I'm cutting from. This is where I'm cutting from. So that's all you need for the front. And then to cut the back, this is what you are doing. To cut the back, so we are not working with this place, right? So I'm going to cut this place off. Cut this place off, and then this is the opening that will be at the back. So meaning I'm cutting it off too. So now I'm going to cut like this. And then the shoulder, and then the neckline, and then this is what you'll have after you've cut everything. This is what you have. So now after cutting it, so depends on the kind of design you're working with. If it's a lace, you can say, okay, you want from here to here to be the lace, and then this part here will be a plain fabric. So this is where your eyelets will be. So now I'm going to cut my dart out. My dart for the back, cutting it out. So now if I'm using 2 separate fabric for the back, so you know this is net, this upper part will be net, so meaning we're separating this upper part too. So that will be the net, the yoke for the back. So you have these 2 pieces for the back. So that's all. So when you want to cut this on your fabric, this place that you separated, make sure you add 1/2 inch to join it together.